Welcome back, guys, to the Mr. Perfect run of Mega Man 5 for the NES. It's time to start the Fortress stages. I really like the way how Proto Man's Fortress looks. The only thing that I would have changed about it is I would have tried to somehow fit Proto Man's scarf into the overworld map of the fortress, but I think that it looks pretty good as it is. If there's one thing that I really like about Proto Man's Fortress stages here in Mega Man 5, it's definitely the music. I really like this song. It's one of my favorite in the entire classic series, and it's the only song that plays throughout all the Proto Man Fortress stages, which kinda sucks, but hey, it's a good song at least, so it kinda makes up for it. I find it kind of interesting that throughout certain parts of Proto Man's Fortress it'll look like an old school castle, yet throughout other parts of his fortress it'll look kind of futuristic-y, like kind of robotic-like. Just kind of interesting how they mix the two together, I think. Throughout the Fortress stages, you'll start seeing some more familiar platforming elements from the other Mega Man games. Like, for instance, later on here in Proto Man Stage 1, you'll encounter the Yoku blocks. Then later on in the Dr. Wily stages, you'll go through an underwater area. They also tried out a few new platforming elements, like in Proto Man Stage 3, you'll have snake platforms that you'll run along. And you'll also see the return of conveyors from, like, Metal Man Stage and Proto Man Stage 2. So yeah, you'll start seeing some more familiar platforming elements as well as some new ones here and there. So yeah, I really like the Fortress stages throughout Mega Man 5. You can use a super arrow throughout this area to completely skip everything, including that walker there. And up we go. Here we are at the area with the Yoku blocks, but you can just use Rush to completely skip past them. I always kind of liked how throughout the Mega Man Classic series, the Yoku blocks that are flashing always seem to match the tiles in the background. I always thought that was kind of cool. The next area up ahead is the final stretch of Proto Man Stage 1. There's kind of a weird enemy in this area. There are eyeballs that circle around you. They can hit you, but more than anything, they're just kind of there to be annoying and distracting. Just kind of a weird enemy, in my opinion. Whatever the case, though, we're now at the boss of Proto Man Stage 1, who is Darkman 1, or as I like to call him, the Tank Sentinel. Basically, he'll ride towards you shooting a shot every now and then. If you hit him, he'll immediately counterattack by shooting a shot at you. He's weak to the water wave, which also erases his shots, so it makes it doubly useful against him. Whenever he gets close to you, jump over him and slide away a couple times to create some distance between you. He can also shoot up at an angle, so don't jump too soon to avoid his shot, otherwise he'll fire into the air and catch you mid-jump. But overall, it's a pretty easy battle. You can kind of see some of the old school castle type aspects that I was talking about earlier if you look on the left side of the overworld map here, the little brick layout that it has going on there. Like I said before, I find it kind of interesting that they tried to mix a futuristic-y type look with a medieval castle, but it works, I guess. If you want a Mega Tank, then take the ladder on the upper right. It'll lead you to a Mega Tank that'll be in the upper right hole there. You'll have to use Rush Coil or the Super Arrow to go through an invisible floor to get to it. But yeah, if you want another Mega Tank, you can get one there. I really like that they tried to do something new for Rush Coil here in Mega Man 5. I mean, I like his original model a little more, but I really like that they at least tried to do something new for Rush Coil here in Mega Man 5. It makes him a little bit different. Coming right up in the next area will be the conveyors that I spoke of earlier. Yeah, they're not exactly like the ones in Metal Man Stage, but hey, conveyors are conveyors. You can use Star Crash throughout this area to make things a lot easier on yourself. You can just run right through all these enemies that drop skulls. Makes it easier because it lets you focus on which way the conveyors are moving Mega Man. Here we got some Crystal Joes. You can actually slide under their crystal. You can also use Gyro Attack to kill all three of them from below if you want to. Makes things pretty easy. I like the little setup that they had for the Crystal Joes there. Just a really cool room in my opinion. You actually don't have to conserve your weapon energy that much throughout the Fortress stages here in Mega Man 5, because the game really supplies you with Mega Tanks throughout a lot of the stages. There's a Mega Tank in this stage, and then there's a Mega Tank in Dr. Wily stages 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, the game really holds your hand with the Mega Tanks throughout the Fortress levels. So yeah, you don't have to worry too much about conserving your weapon energy because of that. So yeah, go nuts and have fun with your weapons throughout the Fortress stages if you want. I like that Mega Man 5 added a little more detail to Mega Man's helmet whenever he's climbing up ladders. If you look at the bottom of his helmet, you can see two black lines. Those weren't there in Mega Man 1, 2, 3, or 4, so it's kind of nice that they tried to add a little more detail to his helmet. We'll go ahead and use some napalm bombs to bomb that tiger down there. And just like that, we are now at the boss of Proto Man Stage 2. The boss of Proto Man Stage 2 is Darkman 2, or as I like to call him, the Shield Sentinel. He'll basically just walk back and forth across the room with that barrier on him, so the only thing to dodge at all in this entire battle is collision damage, which is really easy to do. Normally you'd have to try to time your shots so that you'd hit him as the barrier got around the middle of his body, but if you use Crystal Eye or Napalm Bomb, then you won't have to worry about anything, as both weapons will hit him through his shield, and both weapons also do the same amount of damage to him, 2 damage per hit. So yeah, overall this is a really easy boss battle, definitely the easiest boss battle in both fortresses for sure. I find it kind of funny that on the right side of the fortress you see kind of a switch that looks like you push in. I guess it might fire a laser out of that cannon up there. But I don't know. Whenever you think about it, up close that switch has got to be a lot bigger, so it'd probably take a lot of robots to fire that cannon or whatever it is. Maybe that's why that cannon's never shot at Mega Man. You can see smaller green versions of that cannon in the background of this area. At least I guess it's a cannon anyway. I mean, it just kind of looks like it'd fire a laser or something to me. If there's one thing that I actually don't like about Proto Man's Fortress stages here in Mega Man 5, it's the way how all the bosses have to be a version of Dark Man. It makes the final Dark Man feel less threatening and unique to me. Because, I mean, you fight your way through all these Proto Man stages only to get to the final battle, and then the real Proto Man shows up and destroys Dark Man's disguise, and then you see him and you're just like, oh, it's just another one of those guys. Yay, I've fought 3 of those already. I can handle another, I guess. Don't get me wrong though, because I really do like Darkman. I think that he's an awesome robot master, and I even consider him to be kind of a hidden 9th robot master here in Mega Man 5, just like how Fake Man is in Mega Man 9. It's just that I feel like fighting all those other versions of Darkman really does take away from the suspense and surprise of the final Darkman. You almost expect to fight another one of those robots after fighting 3 of them on the way to the final stage in this fortress. But, like I said, I really do like the final version of Darkman. And I don't really hate the other versions of Darkman, I just would have preferred to see some other types of bosses. Here's a nice little platforming element that I really like that was added here in Proto Man Stage 3, the snake platforms. You can use the Star Crash to help you focus more on where the snake platform is going throughout this area because it'll kill all the enemies in one hit, so that's nice. I like how by the time you get to this stage you can see that it's changed to a nighttime setting with the stars in the background. I like that you can see that you're like on top of the fortress now. It's really cool, I kinda like that. We'll go ahead and give Beat a little more screen time. I really like that whistle that happens whenever you summon him. Beat is really good for taking out the power musclers, the big jumping enemies. We'll go ahead and use Crystal Eye to take out these shield enemies. It works really well for that. We'll go ahead and use Power Stone up ahead. It's pretty decent for taking out enemies on stairs and slopes. Another use that I've found for Power Stone is that it's actually quite effective at taking out enemies while you're hanging from ladders. That's pretty much the best function of the weapon in my opinion. It doesn't really have any other functions where it's superior to the other weapons, so basically I only really use it whenever I want to hit an enemy while I'm hooked onto a ladder. Alright, we are now in the final stretch of Proto Man Stage 3. Throughout this area, there will be another snake platform. You'll also have some Kooker Qs trying to dive bomb you while you're walking on it, so you can use Star Crash to kill them instantly. If you run out of Star Crash though, you can use stuff like Gyro Attack since you can steer it and hit them before they get close to you. Both of those weapons work pretty effectively throughout this area. We are just about to the boss doors. Alright, here we go. The boss of this stage is Darkman 3, or as I like to call him, the Stun Sentinel. He'll edge his way close to you. Every now and then he'll jump up into the air and fire his shoulder cannon a whole bunch. If he doesn't do that, then he'll fire 3 beams from the emblem on his chest. If any of the beams hit you, you'll be stunned temporarily. Immediately after stunning you, Darkman 3 will jump up into the air and fire his shoulder cannon at you. You can actually remove his beams using Water Wave, which is kinda cool. Darkman 3 always kinda reminded me of Vile from the X series. Just the purple color and the shoulder cannon that he has going on just kinda reminds me of Vile. One thing that I find kind of interesting about all the Darkman bosses throughout the Proto Man Fortress is that they're all weak to Beat, with the exception of Darkman 1, which Water Wave does the same amount of damage as Beat, but other than that, Beat does the most damage on all the Darkmen, which I find kind of interesting, and it's kind of nice to give Beat some use throughout the boss battles. I always really liked Proto Man Stage 4. I just like how it's all designed and how you have to actually break the place apart in order to reach the boss gates. Just really cool. I mean, it's a really super short stage, but just the whole concept of destroying the whole area to make it fall down so you can reach the boss doors is just a lot of fun to me. Alright, we're now at the end of the stage. Before you complete this stage, I'd recommend using up your Mega Tank if you have one, because you'll be getting Mega Tanks in Dr. Wily's stages 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, like I said earlier, from this point on, you really don't need to conserve your weapon energy anymore because the game does a lot of hand-holding with the Mega Tanks. Alright, we got a little cutscene before we start the final battle of Proto-Man's fortress here. I love that the fake Proto-Man's whistle sounds a little deeper than the actual Proto-Man's whistle, and I find it kind of interesting that Darkman's shot here takes you all the way down to 1 bar of health, and then after his disguise is broken, his shots don't do nearly that much damage. Just makes you wonder why that first shot of his does so much. And I always wondered what the L on that tank that Proto-Man leaves you stand for. I always just said life, like it stands for life tank or something, I don't know. Whatever the case though, we're now at the boss of Proto-Man Stage 4, who is Darkman 4, or as I like to call him, just Darkman. I always like fighting Darkman Buster only. It just feels like a good way to end the Proto-Man Fortress stages. If you don't want to fight Darkman Buster only, then I'd recommend either using Power Stone or Star Crash, because both of those do 2 damage per hit on him, or you can use Crystal Eye, because it can slip right through his barrier. But Darkman's actual weakness is Beat, so I'd highly recommend using that one, because Beat homes in on Darkman, and that lets you focus more on dodging him. So yeah, overall I'd recommend using Beat if you're going to use any weapon on him. Darkman was actually in the old Ruby Spears Mega Man cartoon. What I find kind of weird about that, though, is that they based his design off Darkman 2, the one that I was calling the Shield Sentinel earlier. You'd think that they would have based his design off Darkman 4, the one that I just defeated. Mega Man also gets his ability in the cartoon, which gives him an electrified net of sorts. I find that kind of weird because you'd think that if you got any weapon from Darkman, it would be the barrier that waves back and forth on him. Oh well, though, still nice to see him get some representation in the old cartoon, I guess. One thing that I kind of like about Darkman 4 is that he kind of gets the abilities from the other 3 Darkmen that you fight up to that point, and those abilities are kind of upgraded, it seems. He gets Darkman 1's bullets, but he can fire 3 in quick succession. He gets Darkman 2's shield, but he can fire it off at you. And from Darkman 3, I guess he kind of gets jumping, because the other 2 Darkmen couldn't jump, and he can jump long distances. I don't know, it's just kind of cool, I think. I really like that. We are just about ready to start the Dr. Wily stages. The Mega Tank that you'll find in Dr. Wily Stage 1 is at the very beginning of the stage. It's one of the first things that you'll see. I'm kind of sad to see the Proto-Man stage is over now, honestly. One thing that I really like about Mega Man 5 is that it really got Proto-Man more involved in the story, because up to this point you don't really know a whole lot about Proto-Man. Because in Mega Man 3 he only shows up a couple of times and you fight him, then at the end he suddenly turns good and you find out that he's your brother. And then in Mega Man 4 they don't really expand upon that at all. I mean, he does make an appearance in Mega Man 4 after you defeat Dr. Kozak. He shows up with Dr. Kozak's daughter, showing that he rescued her. And then Dr. Wily shows up and he's all like, "You betrayed me, Proto-Man, I'm gonna break you, Mega Man." That's really all that he does in Mega Man 4. So I'm just really glad to see some more stuff for Proto-Man here in Mega Man 5. And just see more of him for the story, really. And I just really like that. I really like the music that plays throughout Dr. Wily's Fortress here in Mega Man 5. I don't quite like it as much as I do Proto-Man's stage song, but I do like it. This music actually kind of makes me think more like I'm in a factory than a deadly fortress, to be honest, though. You can use Super Air to completely skip over this area here. One thing that I kind of like about Dr. Wily's Fortress here in Mega Man 5 is that it kind of combines old platforming elements from the previous Mega Man games. Like for instance, at the very beginning of the stage you fall down a long spike shaft similar to the one that you fall down in Dr. Wily Stage 3 in Mega Man 2. And then here and there you'll see the rotating wheel platforms just like the ones that you see in Doc Sparkman's stage from Mega Man 3. Then you got this area right here that's similar to the trash compactor area in Dustman's stage from Mega Man 4. Just really cool stuff. I really like how they combined older platforming elements into the fortress stages. Just really cool in my opinion. One thing that I've noticed about Mega Man 5 is that enemies seem to drop 1-ups more frequently. That, combined with the easy-to-exploit AI of the Robot Masters, makes me think that this is a good Mega Man for beginners to start out with. And that's a good choice because it is a good Mega Man game overall. We are just about to the boss of this stage. The next area will be the final stretch. Go ahead and take these enemies out, get Gravity Hold ready, and up we go. One thing that's kind of interesting about Gravity Hold is that after you turn an enemy upside down, they can't hurt you anymore if you run into them. Just kind of funny. Alright, we are now at the boss of this stage. The boss of this stage is called Big Pets. That's a pretty weird name for a boss. I mean, it doesn't look like any kind of pet I'd keep. Regardless, though, he's weak to the Crystal Eye. What you have to do is you have to shoot out the platforms that are underneath him. Each time you shoot it, it'll come out at you. Jump onto the platform as it reaches you, then proceed to shoot the next one in line. Jump onto that one, then score as many hits on the head as you can. Overall, pretty easy, but a very interesting boss battle. I like that you have to use him to kill him. Kind of an interesting little concept, I think. It almost looks like Dr. Wily has a garage on the bottom part of the far right tower. Just kind of funny because you never see him in anything other than the one flying saucer. How many vehicles could Dr. Wily possibly have? Whatever though, just kind of funny I guess. We are now on Dr. Wily's stage 2. You can use Star Crash throughout the opening area here. Just run right through all these enemies that fall from the ceiling. Makes things pretty easy. You'll have an underwater section here in Dr. Wily's stage 2, which I really like. You'll want to go ahead and use up your Mega Tank now if you have one, because you'll get one on the next screen. I remember whenever I was a kid, I used to intentionally waste all of my weapon energy and then take as much damage as I could without dying. Whenever I'd do that, I'd turn the TV up as loud as I possibly could, and then I would use the Mega Tank. Ooh, my parents could not stand that noise of the energy refilling. They hated it so much. Yeah, I used to troll my parents. I'm a bad kid. Coming right up will be another area where you can use Super Air to skip a lot of the stage, right here. Jump and use the air and then ride it through the rest of this area. Saves you a lot of time because you don't have to stop and wait for the Mets. One thing that's kind of interesting about the underwater segments here in Mega Man 5 is that you actually gain the Mega Man 6 sliding physics, meaning that you can't jump out of a slide, which kind of sucks, but you're only in the water for just a little while. Speaking of which, I would have liked to have seen more underwater sections here in Mega Man 5, but I really do like the one that we got at least. We'll go ahead and use Charge Kick some throughout the rest of this area. Yeah, like I said before, you don't have to worry too much about conserving your weapon energy because you get so many Mega Tanks throughout this fortress. Your next Mega Tank will be at the very beginning of the next stage. It's one of the very first things you'll see. So yeah, like I said, don't worry too much about saving up your weapon energy. We're not too much further from the end of this stage. We're pretty much on the final stretch of it right now. Just use B to take out that Power Muscler, and then use Rush Jet to fly to that ladder in the upper left. And there we go. Go ahead and get beat ready again because you'll have another Power Muscler waiting for you up here right before the boss gates. Alright, the boss of this stage is Circling Q9. Kind of a fitting name because he likes to circle around the room a lot. Basically, he'll hover around at the top of the room while occasionally firing gigantic balls down at you. I wouldn't even bother with the moving platforms while he's hovering around. Instead, wait for him to stop hovering around. Once he stops hovering around, he'll dive bomb at each of the moving platforms while firing a shot here and there. He leaves himself vulnerable while he's doing that, so what I'd recommend doing is avoiding the balls while he's hovering around, and then whenever he's dive bombing the moving platforms, get your hits in at that point in time. Overall, a pretty easy boss battle. You'd think that he wouldn't leave himself so open while he's doing the dive bombs, but whatever. Works for me, I guess. Alright, next up is Dr. Wily Stage 3, which is also the Robot Master Rematch stage, one of my favorite parts in all the Mega Man games. I really like that on the overworld map. It just has that little itty-bitty line right there to show you just how small the stage is. Like I said before, there will be a Mega Tank waiting for you here at the beginning of the stage, but you won't see it if you already have a Mega Tank. So like I said before, if you already have one, then go ahead and use it up. After you do that, get Rush Coil ready, then go off the screen and come right back. The Mega Tank will be there. Then go ahead and use Rush Coil to hop up there and get it. Alright, just go forward just a little bit more. Destroy a cannon guarding a capsule. Enter the capsule and you'll be at the Robot Master Rematch room. Here we go. One thing that I find kind of interesting about Charge Man's rematch is that the train no longer shakes up and down. So either the train came to a stop or this is just a simulation of the Robot Master's original room. Or, you know, I guess the programmers just didn't want to program it in, or maybe they forgot. I guess that could be it too. If you're going to fight Charge Man with a Power Stone, then I'd recommend firing it as you jump over him. It's easiest to hit him with it if you do that. But if you know how to aim it properly, then you can hit him from just about anywhere, really. Alright, next up we're going to go and take out Starman. Basically just fight him the same way that you did earlier in the run. Use Water Wave on him, it's his weakness, and it also removes the Star Crash shield. If he should fire off a Star Crash at you though, just jump over it. It moves really slowly and is really easy to avoid. Basically the only thing to watch out for in this entire battle is his jumping around. Yep, it's a pretty easy fight. Next up we'll go and take out Stone Man. Remember to keep in mind that Stone Man's AI is exploited easily by standing close to him. If you stand close to him, he'll just jump really high and crumble into a pile of bricks. Use the napalm bombs on Stone Man for good damage, and he'll be down and out in no time. I still find it so weird that the pile of bricks that he crumbles into don't hurt you. It's kind of strange that you can slide right through them. Whatever the case, though, we'll go and take out Gravity Man next. If you're doing a Mr. Perfect run, then I would highly recommend that you don't use Star Crash on Gravity Man. Instead, I'd recommend saving that for the final battle against Dr. Wily because it can be helpful in that fight. but I'll explain more about that later on. For now though, we'll just go ahead and use the Mega Buster on Gravity Man. I always really enjoy this battle. Just going from the floor to the ceiling and the ceiling to the floor is just so much fun, as is trying to time your shots to hit Gravity Man as you pass each other. Just a really well thought out boss battle in my opinion. Whatever the case though, next up we'll go and take out Wave Man. Remember to stand completely still whenever Wave Man lands to avoid being hit by his water wave attack. I would actually recommend that you don't use Charge Kick on Wave Man if you're doing a no damage run, because then you risk sliding into the water wave attack and you'll take damage, of course. Instead, I'd recommend just sticking with the Mega Buster. It works just as well in my opinion. Alright, Wave Man is now down and out. Next up I think we're going to go and take out Crystal Man. I always enjoy the rematch against Crystal Man just because you get to see his flashy lair again. Like I said earlier in the run, I just really like that about his stage. I think that it looks really neat. And I like how his boss doors look a little different from the other boss doors in the game. It's really cool in my opinion. Whatever the case though, after you dodge his first crystal eye attack, be sure to stay close to him, that way he'll only do the small hops and fire the single crystals. He's much easier to avoid that way. Alright, next up we're going to go ahead and take out Napalm Man. Remember to keep in mind that Napalm Man's AI is also exploited by how close you're standing to him. If you're standing far away, he'll fire the 3 missiles, just slide under them or jump over them to avoid them. If you're standing close to him, he'll fire 2 napalm bombs into the air, just slide away from him to avoid those. Again, a really easy boss battle, but I really do like Napalm Man. He's a really cool robot master in my opinion. Alright, next up we're going to take out Gyro Man. If you're using Gravity Hold on Gyro Man, then be sure to space out all your shots so that they all connect with him. If you use them too quickly, then not all of them will hit him because he'll have invincibility frames. Other than that, just focus on dodging the gyro attacks, jump over them as they get close to you. Alright, with all the Robot Master now down and out, it's time to fight Dr. Wily. Normally he would be weak to the Star Crash, but like I said earlier, I'd recommend saving that for the final battle of the game. So instead I'd recommend using the Mega Buster if you're doing a Mr. Perfect run. Basically, he'll just hover around at the top of the screen. While he's doing that, I'd recommend that you stand right next to the bed of spikes. After he's hovered around for a few seconds, he'll remove the cockpit and then try to smash you. Whenever he's done that, jump or slide to a safe position. Whenever he comes down to try to smash you, the floor will raise up. Wait until the floor is completely done raising up, otherwise if you jump too soon, you might not get enough height to hit Dr. Wily. Overall, this is a really easy boss battle against Dr. Wily. It's just a little bit time consuming is all, because you have to wait for him to come down at you. You can't just go up there and hit him. One thing that I really like about the Robot Master rematch stage here is the extra detail that's on the capsules after you defeat the Robot Masters, how you actually see the capsules are shattered. Whereas in the previous Mega Man games, light would just quit blinking above the capsule. So I really like the added detail into the capsules in this stage. I also always preferred this type of Robot Master rematch stage as opposed to the Mega Man 1 style where you fight them throughout the different fortress levels. I always liked having just one stage dedicated to all the Robot Masters and just doing one big boss rush. Whatever the case though, we're now getting ready to start Dr. Wily's Stage 4, which is the final stage of the game. There aren't many enemies in the final stage. There's 1 twin cannon and 2 walkers. Well, actually they're called Dachones, but I find it easier to call them walkers, even though they're not Texas Rangers. Anyway though, we'll go ahead and use Napalm Bomb to take out the walkers. It only takes 3 hits to knock them out with a Napalm Bomb. There we go. We'll go ahead and use Charge Kick to slide right through the twin cannon, just completely skip by that. Alright, just one more walker and then we'll be at the final battle of the game. One thing that I like about the final battle of Mega Man 5 is that both phases of the Dr. Wily battle are not weak to Robot Master weapons. Instead, they're weak to, like, Mega Man adapters of sorts. The first phase here is weak to Super Arrow, then the second phase is weak to Beat. And I like that a boss is actually weak to the Super Arrow, it gives it some more combat use. And I kinda like the Super Arrow, even though it only appeared here in Mega Man 5. The reason why I'd recommend saving Star Crash for the final battle in the Mr. Perfect run is because every once in a while Dr. Wily will fire missiles from this tank. Normally he'd fire several in quick succession, but if you block the first one, then he won't fire any more for a while, and that'll leave him vulnerable, and you can score quite a bit of damage that way. Whatever the case though, we are now in the second phase of the final battle. This phase is weak against Beat. Not only is it weak against Beat, but Beat can also show you where Dr. Wily is going to appear next, as you just seen. One thing that I find kind of interesting about whenever you're using Beat is that you can't charge up the Mega Buster anymore, which I understand completely why they don't let you do that. You know, it'd be a little too broken to have regular Mega Man plus more. So I can kind of understand that, but it's still kind of strange that Mega Man loses his ability to charge just because a bird's near him. Throughout this phase of the final battle, Dr. Wily pulls out the disappearing pod trick. Whenever he appears, he'll drop an energy ball to the ground that'll split and go left and right. After that, he'll make energy balls circle outward from him as he disappears. Once the energy balls circle back into him, he'll appear at a new location and then repeat. Like I said earlier in the run, if you have any gravity hold left, you can use that to help you find out where Dr. Wily is going to appear next. If you just wait until all the energy balls come back into him and then use gravity hold, it'll make a flash and show you where he's going to appear next. Other than that, though, of course, Beat can also show you where he's going to appear. Both work well, except Beat uses up a lot less weapon energy. Alright, just one more hit and then Dr. Wily will be down and out. And there we go. Time to check out Mega Man 5's ending. I always found it kind of funny that Dr. Wily's hair sticks up in the air whenever he's running away from Mega Man. One thing that I like about Mega Man 5's ending is that it shows just how strong Mega Man is, because he holds up the entire roof of the fortress whenever it collapses. Makes you kind of wonder why he needs special weapons in order to lift small boulders in Mega Man 1, though. I guess he's just been working out since then. One thing that always kind of confused me about Mega Man 5's ending is that you hear Proto Man's whistle, then you see part of the ceiling get blown up, obviously signifying that Proto Man did it. But why doesn't Proto Man, like, come in and shoot it or anything? You know, why couldn't they have actually showed that instead of it just magically happening? I mean, it's not a big deal, just kind of strange. I like that you can see Proto Man in the lower right here as Dr. Wily escapes. Then he escapes all stealthy-like. Then you can also see Dr. Wily and Mega Man looking at the crumbled fortress. I really like the credits music in this game. One of the best credits songs in a video game ever, in my opinion. I really like it. And well, this now concludes our Mr. Perfect run through Mega Man 5 for the NES. Overall, I really like Mega Man 5. I think that's a great game, and I really appreciate all the changes that it tried to make throughout the Robot Master stages with all the new stuff, like the anti-gravity sections of Gravity Man stage, the hidden stuff in Stone Man stage, the low-gravity aspect of Star Man stage, the jet ski section through Wave Man stage, and even the different things that they do for Napalm Man stage, Crystal Man stage, Gyro Man stage, and Charger Man stage. I like all of those as well. And then I like how throughout the Fortress stages it brings back the more familiar elements, so you don't just see more of the same old, you actually see some pretty cool and new and interesting things throughout the Robot Master stages, and I really like that. I know quite a few people don't think too highly about Mega Man 5's weapon set, and I kind of agree. I'd say it's probably in the top 3 worst weapon sets in the entire Classic series, but I really like the weapons in this game. I think that they can all be useful if you know where to use them. They're all decent weapons in my opinion. And yeah, like I said, probably top 3 worst weapon sets in the series, but overall each of the weapons can be pretty useful if you know where to use them, and they're all really fun to use. One of my very favorite things about Mega Man 5, however, is the music. I love the soundtrack for Mega Man 5. It has one of the best soundtracks in the entire Classic series. Definitely top 3 favorites for me. I like so many of the songs in this game. I love Charge Man song, I love Napalm Man song, Gravity Man song, the Proto Man Fortress song. So many good pieces of music in this game. I love the soundtrack for Mega Man 5. One of the best things about the game, in my opinion. Overall, Mega Man 5 is not my favorite Mega Man game, but it is still a very great game, and it's definitely in my top 3 most recommended Mega Man games for newcomers to the series. It's got decent weapons, great unique stages, and an amazing soundtrack. This game has it all. It is a very good Mega Man game in my opinion. Besides the stages, the weapons, and the music, I like the addition of Beat that Mega Man 5 brings to the series. Beat's a really cool attack bird, and I like him a lot as a character. It's kind of a shame that nowadays he only picks you up out of pits or delivers a barrier to you, but he's still a really cool character, and I'm glad that he's introduced to the series. I also like that they tried to do something new with Rush Coil. I mean, I like his original model more, but it's really nice that they at least attempted to do something new with it, and I like it for this game. So yeah, like I said, I think that Mega Man 5 is a great game and is definitely in my top 3 most recommended Mega Man games for newcomers to the series. And well, this now concludes our Mr. Perfect run through Mega Man 5 for the NES. I hope you all enjoyed watching it and you all know the drill. Comment and subscribe. Thank you for watching.